Welcome to another interview, this time at Evertiq Expo in Berlin 2026. This time I'm joined by Weiss from Informa, as always, and also a newcomer for us, Miscoll from EMSNOW. Thank you for joining us.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me.
So you guys both spent some time up on stage just recently, and we're talking about the global electronics industry. And during that presentation, you had three very interesting slides covering the growth of the three main regions, the Americas, Europe, and Asia, over a 5-year period. And while all have seen growth, Asia is lapping us by a mile. And I wanted to ask you guys, why are we lagging so much behind, both the Americas and Europe, according to you?
You want to start with Europe?
Well, yeah, I can start with that. In the majority, the big end customers for the OEMs who are looking for data centers and service for that, they are big international companies, and they are looking for the most cost-sensitive solution on the one hand. On the other hand, they are looking for companies who are big enough and from the technology are capable to do that. And let's face it, on the data center business, we are talking about 60 to 80 layer multi-layer. The electronics architecture is totally different. We are talking about BGAs with 5,000 to 7,000 solder balls on the back. All of that is totally different. Now there is, we have to admit that on the PCB side, there is only few companies in the Western world who can handle this, and therefore already the PCB is being manufactured in the Far East, and in the majority, I'd assume, in Taiwan, in Korea, and in China. And then it is only logic that they place the orders with those big companies like Foxconn, like Wellwin, like Wistron, quantum computers, and so on.
Yeah. You know, the other observation I make is that our data, as reflected on those, was showing where the headquarters were. It's the real story if we looked at where the manufacturing, because some of like the US-based companies have global, and huge factories in Asia and India increasingly. So the picture is probably a little more severe if you look at it from that perspective. But it is. I mean, I think Europe suffers because they're not going to be participating as much in the AI ramp up that's going to happen over the next, 3-4 years. The United States will, to an extent, but Asia, I think, will be the dominant, for sure, location for manufacturing for those types of products.
Yeah, and let's not forget, for example, Flex just said we are separating the AI business and make that a separate entity. So they are trying. They have a plan.
Yeah.
They have a plan, and they want to be in there. Yeah, I don't see a plan in Europe. Yeah, that is my biggest concern and problem.
Yeah. And the question becomes, why are they manufacturing there and not here from a European perspective? I think a lot of that has to do with regulations too, right?
That was going to be my next question. So Dieter and I have talked about this from time to time, what hinders growth in Europe and what kind of challenges we are facing. And I want to throw that to you in the US. What are the main hurdles for the US EMS providers to perform at an optimal kind of pace? If we look at Asia, we see a different kind of speed. Yeah. What are the main challenges for the US players?
You have to remember, Asia and China have been doing this and have become the factory for the world.
Yeah.
As a result, the rest of it has fallen behind a bit. People you can do in China, due to lack of regulation, due to, it's a communist country and they can just say, do this, right? And everybody falls in line. But then there's also the loss of the knowledge base. So skilled workers to do that. It was interesting when they started building the semiconductor fabs in Arizona. I think it's TSMC said, we got to bring over our people because even to build buildings, the skill set apparently wasn't there. So there really was a lack of knowledge in particular fields. We're getting that back. There's certainly investments going on in the US, but you don't turn that over or turn that around within a year or so.
Well, are you seeing the same kind of thing that we're experiencing, where we are seeing not necessarily a complete reshoring, but a closer and shorter supply chain?
Yeah, I'm of the opinion that it's going to end up with regional supply chains, right? And then then you're going to compete against each other, and then there'll be collaboration within that as well, obviously. But within the U.S., absolutely, or in the Americas, to state it more, because of Mexico is really a critical component there. Absolutely, that the regional supply chains are going to be important, but then all the materials are still coming from Asia ultimately, and people are starting to work towards that. Even, like, to use another example, India is investing, right, in more of a domestic component base.
The China plus one strategy is becoming a cornerstone of everything right now.
Right.
Yeah, and in regard to the regionalization, yes, it is not that all data center products are being manufactured over there. If you just take, for example, Foxconn has one factory in Hungary. I think it's cloud computing, and the other one is the Pardubice factory, and they have been already in 2024 doing a lot of that work, and actually in our European statistics, therefore, we had to realize that they were two outliers which were actually making the Eastern European numbers more favorable only due to those two companies. But it's not business which is coming really to Europe. Yeah? And what we see as well is the question is, where will all these data centers stand? We, for example, in Germany, we have this situation that some local authorities deny the building of data centers because they say, well, they eat up too much energy, they cost us water.
We're having the same in the United States. We're having communities. There's initial excitement. Oh, we're getting an AI, getting a data center, and then they hear, what does that really mean? And people, they're reacting to it. So I do want to point out one of the big difference, with the US and EU, of course, is we're one government. The EU, getting 27 people who have some history with each other to agree isn't always an easy thing to do.
Oh, yes. And even worse, we have a European regulating government, which is causing us the biggest problem over here.
So looking forward to the rest of 2026, are we expecting more of the same, or are we seeing some kind of light at the end of the tunnel now?
Eric and I talked about that. We talked about the situation. How long will that hype in data centers last? And we both agreed it will probably be somewhere in the region of 5 years. Yeah. But the next hype is coming. Second, there is in Europe specific, there's the hype of defense industry. Everybody is jumping on this now. But we have to realize as well, in the past, that used to be just 5% of the total market in Europe. So yes, it's good if that jumps to 7%, but still, it's not the biggest thing. If at the same time we see that the automotive industry is down, shows negative growth, and even, by the way, not only in Europe, we've seen this negative situation as well with Chinese companies supplying European automotive manufacturers. They are down by 16.7%.
Yeah, my general sense at big picture level, for what you're asking, what's the rest of 2026 going to be like? I think there was a lot of optimism, but some of the challenges on the supply chain are going to impact that. I think in the second half, I think you're going to see, because of especially with the PCBs shifting, right, to support the data centers, you're going to have products in some sectors that may not get fulfilled, right? I mean, there's a real risk of that.
Oh, yeah.
And I think and so a lot of the EMS we talk to, they're talking a little more optimistically about 2027 than they are 2026.
Yeah, and if we're looking at the memory side, I think the latest projection of relief there is halfway through 2027 as well. So
Yeah, exactly right. So fun times ahead.
yes, and with that, I thank you for the interview and wish you the best of luck.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Pleasure.